Okay, welcome back to our political science class, session number 2 today. So we're going to wind up the chapter, judiciary. Please open your textbook. We are going to discuss the last topic from that chapter. Okay, we discussed about the powers or division of powers between the legislature and the judiciary. So here it is, page number 141, 141. Okay, the third para. So we have already mentioned the differences that emerged between the parliament and the judiciary over right to property and the parliament power to amend the constitution. Okay, so immediately after the implementation of the constitution began, a controversy is there related with a particular fundamental right is termed as the right to property, right to property. So we are going to discuss about that. The legal conflict between the legislature and the judiciary related with that particular fundamental rights. The court held that the parliament cannot thus restrict fundamental rights. The parliament then tried to amend the constitution. So here you can see the controversy arises over the parliament's power to restrict a right to property. Okay, clear? A controversy arose over the parliament's power to restrict the right to property. So, right to property, if it is a fundamental right, it will create a problem for the government, right? Clear? So each and every individual can approach the court to get their own land, and it should be or it will be the responsibility of the government to provide land for the individuals there. So the legislature decided we are going to change this one or delete this provision or delete this right. Okay, clear, but it already originally existed in the constitution that created by the constitution makers. Okay, added by the constitution makers. So it is the it is the part of the original framework of the constitution. Okay, and it is the structure of the constitution. It is not that easy to change it. Okay, so there's a tug of war between a trouble between the parliament and the Supreme Court. The parliament wanted to put some restrictions on the right to hold property so that land reform could be implemented. So the government decided we will delete or make some changes in this particular fundamental right. Then only they are able to go forward with a plan called be land reforms. Land reform. So land is a or right to property is a fundamental right. No government is able to take away land from us. Okay, at that period there was number of landlords are there, zemindars are there under their control, hectares of land. Okay, clear or not? Okay, huge or vast areas of lands are under the control of the zemindars and the landlords. So the government decided that they will take this land and will redistribute the land among the poor peasants of the country. Okay, but the right to property is there, it is not possible, right? So zamindars and landlords can that say that it is the part of the fundamental right to property. Sorry, right to property. I have all right to keep the land with me. Okay, so government decided to change this. The court held that parliament cannot thus restrict fundamental rights. Okay, so the Supreme Court decided that or give a suggestion that parliament cannot do anything. Parliament cannot delete this fundamental right from the constitution. So listen, it is a fundamental right that time, right? So very difficult to change it or delete it from the constitution. The parliament then tried to amend the constitution, but the court said that even through an amendment, a fundamental right cannot be abridged. So, as per the structure of the Indian Constitution, if amendment made also, we are making amendment also, we are unable to make any changes in the fundamental right. No chance for it. Clear? Okay, so that's what the Supreme Court suggested, Supreme Court decision. The following issues were at the center of the controversy between the parliament and judiciary. So there's a conflict between the parliament and the judiciary related with these issues there. What is the scope of right to private property? Scope of private property. Why we wanted to accept, okay, the private property. What is the scope of parliament's power to curtail, abridge, or abrogate fundamental rights? Okay, then the court want to interpret the power of the parliament to make changes or delete the rights in the constitution. Okay, another problem. Third one, what is the scope of parliament's power to amend the constitution? Power of parliament to making changes in the existing rules in the constitution. Clear? Okay, they have to interpret it. New meanings want to give for all these things there. Next one, can the parliament make laws that abridge fundamental rights while enforcing directive principles there? So, parliament is enforcing the directive principles there. So, they are doing something for the welfare of the people. Okay, so most of the government can do anything, okay, for the welfare of the people, right? That's part of the directive principles there. So now also government is trying to do that only, okay, collecting land from the landowners and redistributing that among the poor peasants there. So that question also arose there, okay, directive principles want to accept it or not. So during the period 1967 and 1973, this controversy became very serious. Okay, so land reform is compulsory for the government. Government want to do that. The government want to increase the agricultural production in the country. Okay, so government wanted to confiscate the land from the landlords, and they want to, okay, redistribute that among the poor persons of the country, sir. So government is in a hurry. Okay, they want to do it again. Okay, anyway, they have to do it. This controversy become very serious. Apart from land reform laws, laws enforcing preventive detention, laws governing reservation in jobs, regulation acquiring private property for public purposes, and the law deciding the compensation for such acquisition of private property were some instances of the conflict between the legislature and the judiciary. Not only this property issue, there are a number of other issues are there that led to a conflict between the state and the central state and the legislature and the Supreme Court, legislature and the Supreme Court. Okay, so what are that? Laws enforcing preventive detention. So preventive detention, we know that most of the people are against that. So preventive detention giving powers to the police department to arrest and keep anyone in the jail maximum for 3 months, right? That's going to be preventive detention. Is that good or not? Next one, laws governing reservation of jobs. Reservation on jobs are necessary or not? Other question. Regulation acquiring private property for public purposes. Okay, the government has the right to collect or confiscate the land or property from the private people for the welfare of the I mean, the welfare of the entire society. Is that possible or not? Next one, the laws deciding the compensation for such acquisition of private property were some instances. Okay, so compensation for such kind of acquisition. So private property is collecting by the government or acquiring by the government. Later, the government want to pay money for the people, those who are the real owner of that land. Clear? Okay, how much you want to pay for it? Such kind of questions arose. So nobody is able to give answers or clear-cut answers because there is no perfect interpretation is there in the constitution related with these issues there. So in 1973, the Supreme Court gave a decision that that has become very important in regulating the relation between the parliament and the judiciary since then. This case is famous as Kesavananda Bharati case. Underline that. So the case that giving or give some ruling or judgment related with these issues termed as a Kesavananda Bharati case. In this case, the court ruled that there is a basic structure of the constitution and nobody, not even the parliament, through amendment can violate the basic structure. So the Kesavananda Bharati case, the landlords they decided or they pleaded, I mean, they argued that fundamental right. It is a fundamental right. What right to land is a fundamental right. So no government is able to make a change. Okay, and the Supreme Court also agreed with that. What is that? Can Okay, so Supreme Court told that no government is able to change this kind of structure, I mean, basic structure of the constitution. So fundamental right is also a part of the basic structure of the constitution. So no government is able to make a change in the fundamental right. The court did two more things. Same. Okay, so they give a ruling like this. Means the government is unable to make any changes in the basic structure of the constitution. The same time that Supreme Court give it two more things there. What is that? First, it said that the right to property, the disputed issue, was not part of the basic structure and therefore could be suitably abridged. So, right to property, okay, is not the part of the basic structure of the constitution. So, government has the power to change it. Secondly, the court reserved it to itself the right to decide whether various matters are part of the basic structure of the constitution. Secondly, the court and see reserved to itself the right to decide. So court give the power to the courts itself. What is that? To decide whether a thing or a particular issue is a part of the constitution or not. Okay. This case is perhaps the best example of how judiciary uses its powers to interpret the constitution. So this Kesavananda Bharati case or this right to property case is considering as a case that the Supreme Court decided, okay, or the Supreme Court showed the power of the constitution or the power of interpreting the constitution. This ruling has changed the nature of conflicts between the legislature and the judiciary. As we studied earlier, the right to property was taken away from the list of fundamental rights in the year 1979. So, as a result of this ruling in the year 1979, the right to property is taken away from the list of fundamental rights. And this also helped in changing the nature of the relationship between these two organs of the government. Okay, so this case showed that the relationship between the legislature and the judiciary. Some issues still remain a bone of contention between the two. I mean, the judiciary and legislature. Two, can the judiciary intervene in the regulate the function of the legislature? The question: the judiciary is able to regulate the function of the legislature or not? In the parliamentary system, the legislature has the power to govern itself and to regulate the behavior of its members. Okay, thus, the legislature can punish a person who the legislature hold guilty of breaching privileges in the of the legislature. So sometimes the legislature has the power to punish the people those who breaking the rules in the legislature. Okay, so can a person who is held guilty for breach of parliamentary privileges seek protection of the courts? The question. So if anyone is breaking the rules and regulations in the legislature, can approach the court or not? That is the question here. These issues are unresolved and are matters of potential conflict between the two. So this kind of cases still it is not resolved. So still these questions are remaining as questions only. Similarly, the constitution provides that the conduct of judge cannot be discussed in the parliament. Okay, so the behavior of a judge, his past, his activities cannot be discussed in the legislature. No, it is not possible. Okay, similarly, the Constitution provides that the conduct of a judge cannot be discussed in the Parliament. There have been several instances where the Parliament and state legislature have cast aspirations on the functioning of the judiciary. Similarly, the judiciary too has criticized the legislature and issued instruction to the legislature about the conduct of legislative business. So, the same time, okay, the legislature cannot discuss about the judges in the legislature or the parliament. Okay, there have been several instances where the parliament and the state legislature have cast aspiration of functioning the judiciary. So the same time we can say that legislature can give suggestions to the or making changes in the judiciary. Similarly, the judiciary has to criticize the legislature and issued instruction to the legislature about the conduct of legislative business. At the same time, judiciary also can give suggestions for the best or proper running or a proper functioning of a legislature. The legislature see this as violating the principle of parliamentary sovereignty. Okay, so the legislature find this kind of suggestion by the court is considering as it is against the structure of the parliament or the supreme power of the parliament. These issues indicate how delicate the balance between any two organs of the government is and how important is it for each organ of the government in a democracy to respect and respect the authority of others there. So we can say that there's a narrow gap only between these organs of the government there. Okay, so sometimes the judiciary can intervene in the actions of the legislature. So legislature will return. I mean, legislature will think about that and will coming to a conclusion, or always they came to a conclusion that judiciary don't have a power to regulate the activities of the legislature and vice versa. Clear or not? So all these organs want to do their own activity. If they are trying to interfere, it will create constitutional issues. Okay, clear or not? A dilemma. That's it. So this is all about this chapter termed as judiciary. Okay. So next chapter is for us. It is federalism. Okay, clear? Federalism. I already told you that that chapter is deleted from the syllabus. Federalism is deleted from the syllabus. And the next one, it is the local governments, in which two topics that is deleted. So write down what are the topic deleted here. Okay, why do we need a local government? The first topic. Why do we need a local government? The first topic is deleted from the syllabus. Next one, Growth of local government in India. Growth of local governments in India. Okay. These things are already deleted from the syllabus, so we don't want to discuss it. Okay. So cut that federalism and these two topics from the chapter, local governments. Okay. Clear? Now we will start the local government there. Before that, there are a number of questions are there from this chapter. It is some importance for the examination there. So you can observe here it is. Here. What are the different ways? I mean, page number 146. What are the different ways in which the independence of the judiciary is ensured? Choose the odd one out. Okay. So observe it clearly and understand the answer. Does independence of the judiciary mean that the judiciary is not accountable to anyone? Write your answer. Okay. Tick that one also. What are the different provisions in the constitution in order to maintain the independence of judiciary? Okay. Now passage based questions also are there. So such kind of questions also important for the examination. One of such question is a compulsory one, right? Okay. So just to read all those things and understand. And here it is page number 149. Eighth question. In what way can public interest litigation help the poor? Okay. Public interest litigation help the poor people. Next one. Do you think that judicial activism can lead to a conflict between the judiciary and the executive? Why? Do you think that judicial activism can lead to a conflict between the judiciary and the executive? Why? If it is yes, write that. If it is no, write it. Next one, how is judicial activism related to the protection of fundamental rights? Has it helped in expanding the scope of fundamental rights? Another one. Okay. So these are the questions of importance, and the same time the passage question also you should read it properly and understand and analyze those things there. Clear? Okay. So we are going to start the next chapter. Just starting here. Listen carefully. The next chapter, local governments. Told the first two portion. I mean, first two topics. Why do we need a local self-government? And the emergence. I mean, the growth of local self-governments in India. That topic is deleted. So go for the third one here. So first of all, I have to ask a question. I want to ask a question for you people. What do you mean by the term a local self-government? And what is the necessary or a need of such governments? Anyway, that part is deleted. You want to understand that, right? Tell me, can anyone? Why a local government? How do you know about it? Anyone speak?
Can help people solve their problems in the local level itself.
Okay, then. Nothing else. Basically, this concept is related with what? Power sharing. What is that? Power sharing. Okay. So decentralization of power. Decentralization of power. If a few people or one or two people, they are managed, they are control the power. If it is so, it will create a lots of problem in the society. So we know that it is almost like the monarchy or a dictator. He or she is ruling the country. Okay, so we know that the students of politicians know that such governments are not that good for the people. I mean, the common people, right? Okay, so and the next one, a country like India, the local self-governments are important because of the vast size of the country and the huge population in the country, right? Clear? Okay, next one. Only the people in one locality basically know their problems, right? And the remedies for it. Okay, clear or not? Example, in your panchayat or in your village, in your particular ward, okay, there's a drinking water trouble or there is no ponds. Okay, so only you people know that. You are the one those who are able to create some remedies for it. Okay, the state government or the central government is sometimes they are helpless to solve such kind of issues or such kind of issues. So local self governments are important. They are able to give or create a remedy for this kind of problems basically people are facing in the local level there, right? So local self government, we know that local I mean the panchayat governments are there, municipalities are there for the towns, next one municipal corporations are there for the metro cities there. Okay, like that various levels are there for this local self government also. The coming to the panchayati raj system, we can say that the three levels are there. It's called to be the three-tier system of the panchayati raj. Three-tier system of the panchayati raj, like the village panchayat, the block panchayat, and the district panchayat. District panchayat. This is three-tier system of the panchayati raj. So basically, the panchayats or the local self governments is strictly connected with the power sharing and the decentralization of power. Decentralization of power. Next one, due to the population or the size of the country, local self governments are necessary. Clear or not? And sharing the power equally among the different social groups, local self governments are necessary. Okay, sharing the power among the different political parties, local self government is necessary. Okay, clear. Like that, various things are there behind a local self government. So this is the idea behind the formation of local self governments. A number of countries are following this local self government system. Okay, basically they will call it as a community government, community governments. Okay, a group of people they will maintain their locality. Okay, so we are here, the local self government. Okay, page number 177. I already told you that why the local government is deleted. So you know that why it is. Okay, next one, growth of local government in India, completed there. Okay, so before independence also there are suggestions that made by the Indian national leaders to the formation of a local self-government, because they know that the country is so vast, so such kind of governments is needed to maintain the local bodies or local zones there. Okay, this one we are starting from here. Local governments in independent India. Local governments in independent India. Local governments got a flip after 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment. Okay, so they got a growth after 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts. But even before that, some efforts in the direction of the developing local government bodies had already taken place. First in the line was the Community Development Program in the year 1952. Community Development Program in the year 1952, which sought to promote people's participation in local government in a range of activities. In this background, a three-tier Panchayati Raj system, underline that, Panchayati Raj system, three-tier Panchayati Raj system of local government was recommended for the rural areas. Rural areas, okay, village level. Okay, some states like Gujarat, Maharashtra adopted the system of elected local bodies around 1960. So soon after independence, number of regions or the states they tried to create this kind of local bodies for making the rule of the state somewhat good or better. Okay, some states like Gujarat, Maharashtra adopted the system of elected local bodies around 1960. But in many states, those local bodies did not have enough powers and functions to look after the local development. But one problem they face this, there is no much powers with these local bodies or local self-government. So they are unable to maintain the administration. Okay. But in many states, those local bodies did not have enough powers and functions to look after the local government. They were very much dependent on the state and the central government for financial assistance. Okay, so local self government is there. Okay, but there is no revenue for this kind of local self governments there. So for day-to-day administration, basically they wanted to get the help from the state government or the central government, Clear? But today, if you're observing, so the mayors of these metropolitan cities like Cochin, Trivandrum, okay, or Hyderabad, Chennai, or Mumbai, they don't want to rely on the state government or the central government, because they are able to collect a huge taxes from their own locality, right? Okay, so some local self governments are there. Okay, some rights are there for them to collect these taxes from the people. Okay, local self government taxes are there. Okay, so if you are buying a film ticket, I mean cinema ticket from the cinema theater, we are able to find that a special provision is there for the local self government to collect taxes from that cinema theater, right? Okay, so today things are changed there. Many states did not think it is necessary to establish elected local bodies. In many instances, local bodies were dissolved and the local government was handed over to the government offices. Okay, clear. So no state governments are basically not that interested to conduct elections to create a local body, okay, or local self government. Instead of that, they started selecting, or in some areas only the administrative offices, okay, or bureaucrats will maintain the government. Such kind of things happen there. Many states had indirect elections to most local bodies. In many states, election to the local bodies were postponed from time to time. So not functioned properly. So there's a suggestion is there's one of the independence for creating these local bodies, but no state government or no political parties are not that interested to maintaining these local bodies or local body elections there. Okay, so after 1987, a thorough view of the functioning of the local government institutions was initiated in the year 1989. The PK Tunkan Committee recommended constitutional recognition for the local government bodies. Okay, so PK Changon committee, they suggested the government for the importance of this local self government and the constitutional recognition. The constitution want to understand the importance of the local self bodies. Sorry, local self governments. The constitutional amendment to provide for periodic elections to the local self government institution. So suggested periodic elections are necessary to elect the members in the local bodies there, and enlistment of appropriate functions to them. At the same time, in the constitution, there are lists are there like the concurrent list, state list, and the central, I mean the union list. So these governments are following the administration or doing or administrating the country related with the constitution there. So special provisions are necessary for the functioning of local self governments. That's what the finding here. Okay, so along with the funds was recommended. Not only giving powers to the local self government, wanted to provide funds for their functioning, funds for their functioning. So we can see 73rd and 74th amendments, 73rd and 74th amendments in 1989. The central government introduced two constitutional amendments. These amendments aimed at strengthening local government and ensuring an element of uniformity in their structure and functioning across the country. So in the year 1989, okay, related with the changes in the constitution made by the legislatures, the parliament, that is timed at the 73rd constitutional amendment and the 74th constitutional amendment, they give more powers to the local self governments. Okay, so these amendments aimed at strengthening local government. So these changes that made by the parliament in the constitution to give more powers for the local self governments and ensuring an element of uniformity in their structure and the functioning across the country. Okay, so later in 1992, the 73rd and the 74th Constitutional Amendment were passed by the Parliament. So it was a bill in the year 1989 and it was passed in the year 1992. Okay, in the 73rd Amendment is about rural local governments, which are also known as Panchayati Raj institutions. So the 73rd Amendment that made by the Constitution that related with the local self government, the rural local self governments, basically termed as the Panchayati Raj institutions. Panchayati Raj institutions. Okay, okay, or PRIs. Okay, Panchayati Raj institutions. And the 74th Amendment made the provision relating to urban local government, basically termed as Nagarapalikas. Okay, so two types of local self governments are there. One type of local self governments for the rural area, the other for the urban area. Okay, so rural area is termed as, or it is related with the 73rd Amendment termed as, what is that? Panchayati Raj institutions, local self governments in the rural area. Next one, 74th Amendment is related with the local self government in the urban area, termed as Nagarapalikas. Nagarapalikas. Okay, to maintain the cities. The 73rd and the 74th Amendments came into force in the year 1993. 1993. So we have noticed earlier that local governments is a state subject. Okay, what is that? Earlier we came to know or we studied that state subject. It is a state subject. Okay, activities of the local government is a state subject. States are free to make their own laws on their subject. But once the constitution was amended, the states had to change their laws about local bodies in order to bring them in conformity with the amended constitution. So before 1993, the activities of the local self government is controlled by the state governments. But after the amendment, they give special powers for the local self government. They were gives 1 year's time for making necessary changes in their respective state laws in the light of this amendment. So the constitution give or the Supreme Court or the constitution give 1 year for the state government to create or making changes in the rules and regulation of the state to protect the local self governments. Local self governments. Okay, just understand up to here. and we are discussing about these amendments clearly. Okay, first one, 73rd Amendment. Let us now examine the changes brought about by the 73rd Amendment in Panchayati Raj institutions. Okay, what is this 73rd Amendment? Okay, so amendment means we know that making any changes in the existing rules and regulation in the constitution is termed as a amendment. Basically, the parliament is making changes. Okay, clear or not? Already we studied in the chapter legislature how the parliament is making changes in the constitution there. Okay, with the support of the members from the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and from the state legislature. Okay, here it is termed as, first of all, a three-tier structure of the government. Three-tier structure of the government. So what is a three-tier structure? Three levels of government. Three levels of government. So related with this Panchayati Raj institutions, we can say that in a rural area, rural level, it is termed as the village panchayat. Clear? Okay, in a block level is termed as the block panchayat, the combination of number of villages together, block panchayat. Okay, in a district like that, a number of blocks will be there. All those blocks together will form the district panchayat, district panchayat. Idea clear? Okay, so a person those who residing in a rural area, they wanted to provide three votes for three different candidates, one for the village panchayat, one for the block panchayat, the other one for the district panchayat, district panchayats. This is observed very clearly. The intermediary level of the, so here we are at the base is the gram panchayat. A gram panchayat covers a village or group of villages. The intermediate level of the mandal, also referred as a block or taluk. Okay, mandal. Okay, village panchayat, mandal panchayat, I mean the block panchayat or the taluk one. These bodies are called mandal or taluk panchayats. The intermediary level body need not be constituted in the similar smaller states at the apex of the Zilla Panchayat, covering the entire rural area of the district. Next one, Zilla Panchayat, or termed as district Panchayat. District Panchayat. Number of Panchayat, I mean the Gram Panchayat together, the block Panchayat, the number of block Panchayat together, we can say is the district Panchayat. Okay. So the Panchayat covering the entire rural area of the district. That is the district Panchayat. The amendment also made a provision for the mandatory creation of the Gram Sabha, and the Gram Sabha would comprise of all the adult members. Underline that. Write the question. What is the Gram Sabha? What is a Gram Sabha? And what are their functions? What is a Gram Sabha and what are their functions? The Gram Sabha would comprise of all the adult members registered as voters in the Panchayat area. Its role and functions are decided by the state legislation. Okay, so Gram Sabha means nothing but it's a body of all adult voters in one locality, locality basically termed as a village. Okay, so their responsibility is to control the activities of the local government, or control the activities of the village panchayat. Village panchayat, that's the function of the Gram Sabha. Gram Sabha. Now we are going to discuss about elections for this village panchayats, block panchayats, and the Zilla Parishad, I mean the district panchayat. Okay, all the three levels of the Panchayati Raj institutions are elected directly by the people. Okay, so election is a direct election. The term of each Panchayat body is 5 years. Underline that. Okay, write the question there. Write the election procedure to elect members. Write the procedure to elect the members for Panchayati Raj system, Panchayati Raj institution, system or institutions. Okay. So all the three levels of the Panchayati Raj institutions are elected directly by the people. The term of each Panchayat body is 5 years. In the state government, dissolve the Panchayat before the end of its 5-year term. So it's the responsibility of state government to dissolve. Okay. Okay. Making them away from the power there, and next election will be there. Okay. So fresh election must be held within 6 months of such dissolution. This is an important provision that ensures the existence of elected local bodies. Before the 73rd Amendment, in many states, there used to be indirect elections to the district bodies, and there was no provision for immediate election after dissolution. Okay, so what is here? The government has the power to dissolve. I mean, the state government have the power to dissolve the local self-government. Okay, and within 6 months, they have to conduct a new election, a fresh election to choose or elect the representatives for the local self bodies. I mean, local self governments there. Okay. So underline that. Next one, reservations. Reservations. 1/3 of the position in all panchayat institutions are reserved for women. That's an important thing there. Okay, 1/3 seats are reserved for women. Reservation for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes are also provided for all the three levels in proportion to their population. Okay, so reservations are there for women. Reservation seats are for, I mean, reservation constituencies are for women, scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Scheduled tribes there. Okay, in the state, sorry, related with the proportion of their population. Okay, if the states find it is necessary, they can also provide for reservation for the other backward classes termed as OBCs. Okay, the state government find that the OBC people or the people from other backward communities also facing problem. So the state government can reserve seats for the OBC communities also. It is important to note that these reservations apply not merely to ordinary members of panchayat, but also to the position of the chairpersons or adhyakshas. Okay, panchayat, we know that panchayat president, the municipal chairman, okay, and corporation mayor, okay, they are the adhyaksha, they are the chairpersons. Okay, so reservation for these powers, I mean these seats are included in this amendment. At all these three levels, further reservation of 1/3 of the seats for women is not merely in the general category of seats, but also within the seats reserved for scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and backward classes. So the seats that are reserved for women, not only in the general seats, but in the seats reserved for scheduled caste, seats reserved for the scheduled tribes, or backward classes, we are able to see that a percentage of seats are shared, I mean, reserved for the women there. Okay, this means that the seat may be reserved simultaneously for a women candidate and one belong to the scheduled caste or scheduled tribes. Thus, a sarpanch would have to be a Dalit woman or an Adivasi woman. Chances are there a sarpanch. Okay, I mean the chairperson's post also reserved for some time. They will reserve it. Okay, so there's a chance for the Adivasi or the Dalit women to become or a woman to become a chairperson or a panchayat president or a municipal chairperson or even the mayor. Clear? So you read number of news related with the youngest mayor of the country. Who is that? From Thiruvananthapuram Corporation. Do you know her name? Just completed age of 21. No idea. Hmm. Okay, okay, fine. So newspaper is important one for us, right? Okay, okay, everyone. We will meet in the next class. Thank you.